Did you know that nearly a century after America was founded, there was no immigration laws, like at all? That the first restriction didn't target criminals or threats, but Chinese women? Or that today a single judge's ruling could change who gets to stay in this country and who gets deported? This is episode 2 of the Megan podcast, and today we're digging into the history, the politics, and the real people caught in America's immigration debate. From Ellis Island to ICE raids, from borders to border walls. And no matter which side of the political line you're on, this episode will make you stop and ask, how did we get here? I think immigration laws have always been a part of the American story. But here's the twist. For nearly the first 100 years of this country's existence, there was almost no federal immigration laws at all. If you got on a ship and you made it to the shore, you were in. In 1790, Congress passed its very first immigration related law, the Naturalization Act. But it didn't say who could enter the country. It only said who could become a citizen, quote, free white people, who had lived in the U.S. for at least 2 years. That one line, free white persons, quietly set the tone for a century of immigration policy built around race and exclusion. Now, fast forward to 1882. The country's first major immigration restriction didn't target criminals or people with diseases or even political radicals. It targeted Chinese laborers. The Chinese Exclusion Act became the first federal law to explicitly ban a specific ethnic group from entering the U.S. And not long after that, in the early 1900s, Congress expanded that idea. Literacy tests, head taxes, and bans on people from most of Asia, Southern, and Eastern Europe. Since then, it's been a storm of reforms, crackdowns, amnesties, debates, and executive orders. From Reagan's 1986 amnesty to Trump's travel bans, but through it all, the same question keeps coming back. Who belongs? Who gets to come in? And who gets left out? When people talk about immigration, they're not just arguing over Border Patrol budgets or visa caps. They're often arguing over two very different versions of America. For many on the right, immigration is about sovereignty. A nation has borders, it has laws, and those laws should be followed. Illegal immigration, in this view, isn't just a paperwork issue, it's a violation of the rule of law. If the system is broken, it needs to be tightened, not ignored. There's also an economic argument. Critics of open immigration say it lowers wages for low skilled American workers, that it stretches public services from schools to emergency rooms, that it can increase crime, though the data there is fiercely debated. Then there's the cultural argument. Some conservatives worry about the pace of immigration, not because they oppose newcomers, but because they fear assimilation is too slow. That America is losing a shared language, shared values, even a shared story. So for the right, the answer is clear. Secure the border. Enforce the law and admit only those who follow the rules. On the left, the story is different. Progressives often argue that immigration strengthens America economically, culturally, morally. They point out that immigrants start businesses, pay taxes, and fill critical jobs, especially in agriculture, caregiving, and tech. They argue that the system doesn't just need enforcement, it needs compassion. After all, most undocumented immigrants don't cross illegally, they overstay visas. Many have been here for years, raising families, contributing to communities. Should they be deported or given a path to legal status? Progressive also emphasize human rights. Think about asylum seekers fleeing violence, political persecution, or climate disasters. Shouldn't America, a country built by immigrants, be a safe haven, not a fortress? And there's a moral question too. If the economy relies on undocumented labor, they ask why criminalize the workers instead of fixing the system? So for the left, the message is reform the laws, create a pathway, and welcome those who are already here. There's also a middle ground, though it rarely makes the headlines. Many Americans support a mix of strong borders and a humane path to citizenship. Polls show most people want a solution, not a soundbite. But the politics, they reward the loudest voices. So here's the question. Can a country built on immigration still agree on what immigration should look like? Let me tell you about a man named Lewis. He's not a politician, he's not a lawyer, he's not even a headline. Lewis is a farm worker in the Central Valley of California, one of the most productive agriculture regions in the world. He wakes up at 4:30 every morning. By 6 a.m., he's out in the fields picking strawberries. The work that he's doing is backbreaking. The pay, $14 an hour. No benefits, no job security. Lewis is undocumented. He came to the US from Mexico when he was 19, not to chase dreams, but to send money home. He hasn't seen his mother in over a decade. And here's the twist. Without workers like Lewis, America's food system does not function. Nearly half of all of our farm labor in the United States is done by undocumented immigrants. They pick your lettuce, milk your dairy, process your poultry, they pay taxes, they can't vote, and they live every day with the fear of being deported. Lewis told a reporter once, I do the work no one else wants, but people treat me like I'm invisible. Now, compare that to Mary, a dairy farmer in Wisconsin. She voted for Trump 2 times. She believes in law and order, but she also told her local paper, if ICE takes my workers, I'll lose my farm. I can't find Americans willing to do this job. So here you have two people, Lewis and Mary, caught in a system that works for neither of them. That's what makes immigration in America so complicated. Behind every political fight, every policy memo, every border statistic, there are people who just want to work, to live, to stay. Now, let me tell you about Erica, a medical billing assistant from Long Island, New York. A few years ago, her company downsized her job, and the jobs of 3 others in her department were outsourced to a third party firm in Texas. That firm, it turned out, was hiring recent arrivals, mostly immigrants, many of them undocumented. Erica wasn't angry at the workers, but she was angry at the system. She told a town hall crowd, how do I compete with someone who will work for half of what I need to pay rent? I'm not racist. I just want a fair shot. Then you have people like Officer John Martinez, a second generation Cuban American and former ICE agent. He worked in Southern Florida for 12 years and says he saw firsthand how loopholes in the immigration system were exploited. He describes a case where a man previously deported for gang violence returned to the US and was arrested again, this time for domestic assault. The paperwork delay meant the man was released before ICE could detain him. We're not talking about dreamers, Officer Martinez says. We're talking about dangerous repeat offenders that the system keeps losing. These stories, they don't make easy headlines. They don't fit neatly into a left versus right box. But they do highlight a different kind of fear. The fear that working class Americans are being priced out, overrun, or forgotten. The fear that the system is being gamed and no one in Washington is doing anything about it. Two stories, one from a working man invisible in the fields, one from a woman who lost her job. Both feel unseen. Both feel failed by the system. Right now, America's immigration system is sitting at a boiling point, and everyone seems to agree on one thing: it's not working. In the past year, the U.S. has seen record numbers of migrants crossing the southern border, many from Venezuela, Haiti, and Central America. Thousands walk across desert terrain or wait in makeshift camps in Mexico, hoping for asylum. The Biden administration has tried a mix of deterrence and diplomacy, including a new executive order limiting asylum access when crossings spike above a certain threshold. Critics on the right say it's too soft, that border agents are overwhelmed and fentanyl is flooding in. Critics on the left say it's too harsh, that vulnerable people are being turned away or fast tracked to deportation without due process. In the courts, immigration policy is being rewritten, not by Congress, but by judges. One federal judge blocks a deportation rule, another reinstates part of Title 42. The Supreme Court weighs in on DACA. States like Texas sue the federal government. Meanwhile, California pushes back with sanctuary policies and even sues over federal overreach. The result? A legal maze, one that changes depending on what state you're in or who the president is. So here we are, a border that feels overwhelmed, a Congress that cannot agree, a public torn between compassion and control. And people like Lewis, like Erica, like Officer Martinez are still waiting for a solution. So, what happens next? Who will decide what kind of nation we become? A fortress or a haven? Or somewhere in between? America has always been a country of contradictions, a nation built by immigrants that has always feared them, a land of opportunity that often shut its doors, a democracy that can't seem to decide who gets to belong. We've seen how the laws began, how they were shaped by race, fear, and changing labor needs. We've heard from people on both sides, people like Lewis, who came to work and stayed in the shadows, people like Erica, who lost her job and felt left behind, and people like Officer Martinez, caught between compassion and enforcement. And now the question that refuses to go away: what kind of country do we want to be? Do we believe in borders above all else, or in second chances? Do we see immigration as a problem or a promise? Can we hold two truths at once, that a nation needs laws and that people also need dignity? I don't have the answers, but I do have a challenge for you. Before you repost that headline, before you choose a side, ask yourself, what would justice look like if you were the one crossing the border? Or if you were the one who had just lost your job? Thank you for listening. I'm Megan, and this is episode 2 of the Megan Podcast. If this made you think, please share it. Start a conversation, because the story of immigration isn't just history, it's right now, and it's yours.